All right, so we're here to talk about parts of the manual wheelchair. This is a type 4 chair that we talked about in another video. So I just want to go through some of the parts of the wheelchair corresponding with the PowerPoint we put up. So we've got the seat panel. In this case, it's a nylon seat panel. Sometimes we have a seat plate that is metal, but typically on this type of a chair, we have a more flexible seat. We have leg rests that look a little bit different. They're one continuous leg rest. They're not adjustable in terms of being able to swing in or out. So there's limited adjustability there on this type of chair that's customized to the user. We have a different style of calf panel here to make sure that the user's feet are staying in place and not sliding back underneath the chair. There's the foot plate, which looks considerably different. It's quite small. Typically this wheelchair user's feet would be quite close together. But we can modify those options based on what the client needs. If I turn the chair again just a little bit, now we've got the front set of wheels. We've talked about the caster forks, which are the pieces that go on either side of the wheel, and the caster housing up here. These would be the caster wheels and the tires. So they do move quite easily and freely to allow the person to get in and out of different spaces and on different types of terrain. Now we've got the tire, the wheel rim itself, and the spokes. You'll notice too, this one has aluminum hand rims. There are different types of rims. This particular user has the rims installed really close to the tires. That's in order to really decrease the width so that the person can access places that are a lot tighter. We've got the wheel hub, which is the piece here where the spokes are coming out of. And then we've got the axle release to take the tire off and put it back on. These would be your back canes on either side here. You'll notice there aren't push handles on this type of a chair. That's because the type of user we would prescribe this for would typically be mobilizing independently and wouldn't need a caregiver's support. There's a backrest, which you'll notice is much more low profile than what we would typically see. Again, for the active user, we want to limit the interference with their scapula so that they can still mobilize and have free range of motion in their upper extremities, and also be able to twist their trunk and reach for things that they need in their environment. So these chairs all kind of have a different way of folding down the backrest. So in this case, I showed you in a previous video, you can just squeeze the bar, collapse the back like this. We have a little bit of a different style of type 4 chair over here that has obviously a much more aggressive tire and much larger front caster wheels. This is for an individual that's traveling in environments like we have here in Northern Ontario, really rough terrain, lots of hills, snow, ice, things like that, making it a little bit easier to get around. One of the things I didn't talk about on the previous chair are clothing guards. So that's these guys right here that go on either side. A lot of these users often don't use the clothing guards. They also often don't use brakes. So that's something to be aware of, but knowing that they do exist. The clothing guards are really here for two reasons. To prevent the person's clothing from getting caught in the wheels, but also to prevent them from getting wet. As you can see with this type of chair that's got the wheels quite high on either side, this person would be full of snow and dirt once they got home if they didn't have the clothing guards in place. The only other thing I wanted to mention that I didn't say about the previous one, because these chairs don't have brakes. This one in particular does have one brake so that I can show you. This is called a scissor brake. So there are different styles of brakes that are out there. Oftentimes a category 4 user will have this sort of sleek, lightweight kind of scissor brake that just clamps onto the tire like that. I think that's pretty much it for parts of a wheelchair. So we'll look at some different styles of wheelchairs and what all the different parts look like, being aware that every chair looks slightly different, but having a general understanding of the anatomy of a wheelchair.